Sum 41 are one of those bands that have stood the test of time. With their final show just weeks ago as I record this video, and Deryck Whibley's autobiography just being released as well, the nostalgia is real. In his book, Deryck revealed how Sum 41 have delivered banger after banger for all these years.
Yes, a multi-platinum selling band from Canada performing the latest single from their current CD. Chuck, please welcome Sum 41.
And it turns out it's a bit different to how we first thought. Sum 41 are best known for tracks like Fat Lip, In Too Deep, Underclass Hero and The Hell Song. And from their first release in the early 2000s, they've been super consistent with their songwriting, sticking to their roots and not picking up on trends like electronic or pop music to get them into the charts.
We want to be a heavier hard rock band and didn't care about radio or what was a financially viable music genre.
In a recent video by Stevo32, the OG drummer of Sum 41, he ranks the Sum 41 albums in order of his favourites, and he puts Chuck and Does This Look Infected as his favourites, which are less pop punk, more punk rock with heavy guitar lines and a more raw production value. But let's get back to songwriting and start at the very beginning. So one thing that I didn't know until recently was that just 1 year into starting Sum 41, Deryck was signed by EMI with a publishing deal on his own without the rest of the band.
When EMI heard what we sounded like playing in a real studio with a real producer, they were sold. They wanted to offer me a publishing deal, which is different from a record deal. They got to work on a really great publishing deal. I was still 17, but soon would be turning 18 and signing a $75,000 contract with one of the biggest publishing companies in the world.
So the label obviously saw potential in him from the very beginning. He says that he started off writing hip-hop lyrics, but then with the release of Nevermind, he started learning guitar and drums because he couldn't decide which one he wanted to play. So although Deryck had this publishing deal with EMI, he still concentrated on making Sum 41 songs and recording Sum 41 demos, and this led into Half Hour of Power, which was released in 2000. To me, that album sounds like a bit of a mix between Blink-182 Dude Ranch and Green Day's Dookie. When Sum 41 got their record deal in 2001, bands around at the time that were smashing it were Blink-182, they just released Enema of the State, and Green Day, so it was the perfect time to inject some pop into the punk rock scene. But what really interests me is the way that Deryck Whibley writes his songs. He said that he would write all on his own in solitude, sometimes in his car, sometimes locked away in his mum's basement as well.
I ended up sitting out in the car in the driveway, writing with an acoustic guitar and a tape recorder. One time the cops showed up, knocked on the car, and asked me for my license and registration. I rolled down the window and asked, "Am I seriously getting pulled over in my own fucking driveway right now?" I showed them my guitar and recorder, and they left me alone. I have to try out weird ideas by myself before I can even think about sharing with anyone.
And here's the 4-step process that he talks about. So number 1, he starts with a chord progression, a structure, or a guitar riff. He then starts to form vocal melodies over the top, but these aren't attached to lyrics at this point. So he'll just sing gibberish lyrics over the top to get an idea of what the melodies are going to sound like and where the syllables are going to be placed. An amazing fact is that Never Wake Up on the No Killer No Filler album is just gibberish. They never got around to writing lyrics for this song, so it's recorded without any lyrics at all. And I've listened to this song so many times and had no idea.
Can never wake up. So then you can't have it so wide awake. So then you can't have it so wide awake. I'm on a bed, since I had a gun. Since the beds make time. I plan on never waking up. I plan on never waking up.
Writing melodies before lyrics is great for pop songwriting because you're focusing on the melodies and you're focusing on writing the hook that's going to draw people in. You can really tell the difference between a songwriter that writes melodies first and a songwriter that writes lyrics first, but we'll talk about that in another video. He then starts to write bass and drum parts which pulls the structure together, and he starts to create creative rhythms and start-stops in the song, which pulls the audio together as a unit. So he'll record this as a rough demo, still on his own at this point, ready to show the rest of the band. At this point, the rest of the band can add their talent, their creativity. You've got Dave's amazing solos and Stevo32 adding incredible drums to these songs.
I wrote the framework of the solos on Hell Song and Hooch, just to show Dave the style I was thinking, and then he took it from there, always coming up with the most incredibly iconic shit.
And this is where the genius of Sum 41 is formed, mixing these pop melodies with metal guitars and hip-hop lyrics as well. And that's why they have a super original sound.
The process had always been that I wrote the songs and came in with full demos, complete with riffs, vocals, harmonies, drum parts, and fills exactly the way I heard it in my head to the best of my ability. I then gave the guys a demo-quality version of a finished album with every song I'd written to that point. From there, if anyone had an idea for how to improve the song, we tried it in the studio, and if it was good, we made the change.
And just to give you an idea of timelines, Deryck Whibley was given about 4 weeks to write Does This Look Infected? And he managed to extend it by 1 week to 5 weeks to write the whole record, which I think is amazing in the time frame. It's such a good album. To help out, the super talented Stevo32 was writing songs like Pain for Pleasure and bringing in some of that humour as well as the epic drums. I've talked a lot about Deryck Whibley in this video, but I don't want to take the spotlight away from the genius of the rest of the band. All the members add their own unique talents to the tracks, and I'm sure they've changed a lot from the demos to the final recording. For example, Dave Baksh has written some amazing guitar solos and riffs as well, and it wouldn't be the same without him. Obviously there'll be so much input in practice sessions and through the production process as well. And it's super obvious that when Stevo and Dave left, that the sound changed quite considerably. I'd highly recommend checking out Stevo32, the original drummer's YouTube channel, and I'll put a link in the description because it's really decent, and he's got so many videos that sort of unpack the beginning of Sum 41 and shows you from a drummer's perspective. I definitely recommend getting Deryck Whibley's autobiography if you're interested in songwriting or punk rock music or just music in general. I listened to the Audible version and it's got his voice in it, so it's a little bit more personal as well. If you're trying to write songs inspired by Sum 41, try out this 5-step method and see how you get on. Bands like Metallica have a very different approach to this, and they usually write songs together as a unit in the practice room. And I'll talk about that in another video if you want, just let me know in the comments. Make sure to reach out with any questions. I'd love to hear your demos and recording and songwriting. Just send me an email. I'll put that in the description as well. If you like this video, please hit subscribe, and I'll take that as a hint to make more music related videos. Thanks so much for watching. Keep writing stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.